Okay, hello and welcome everyone. I am Peter Robinson, and today we're going to have Mikhail, with a little bit of help from Ben, talking about the merge. So the merge of the Ethereum beacon chain and the execution chain, otherwise currently known as MainNet. And so, Mikhail, before you kick off, you did a talk. I mean, introduce yourself, but also you did a talk. What? It's a bit over a year ago, did you say, on the merge? And so, I don't know. It's so good to have you back. So please introduce yourself and tell us about what you're going to talk about.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks for having me here. Thanks, Peter, for inviting me. Yeah, I was here. Yeah, first of all, the introduction part. My name is Mikhail. I'm a research engineer in Consensus R&D, and the merge was like my #1 and the only project for more than 2 years for now. And yeah, as Peter mentioned, I've been here like slightly more than a year ago. And by that time, I was like, yeah, obviously I was like speaking about the merge. And by that time, I knew like 100% of information about the merge, like all the blog posts, all the things that are happening around it. But now, when I was preparing this talk, when I was preparing this presentation, I just realized that I'm barely handling like even like 30% probably of all the blog posts, all the ideas and content and the marketing campaigns and other things that are happening around the merge. And at some point in time, like a year ago or like more time ago, I was a kind of like leading the merge efforts, but now the merge efforts are led by the Ethereum community, which is very exciting. Like it's led by like a lot of people, by engineers, by users, by coordinators. So yeah, the merge like is a kind of really important topic at this moment in time, and I'm very excited to be at this stage of this major stage of this like project. So and yeah, I guess I can share my screen.
Yes, please do. So thank you.
Yeah. Let me check. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
So like it's yeah, let me try to switch slides. Is it working?
Yep.
Okay, great. So yeah, today we have a plan for today. It's pretty it's like pretty like short in terms of in terms of number of steps that we have. But yeah, it's going to be like a bit long talk, and I would like to have a more dialogue here. So you may stop me at any point in time, ask questions, and let's have a discussion. Okay, so what we have for today, we definitely will go through the merge mechanics. Otherwise, it would not be a merge talk. So we will go through the high-level design of the merge, how it's going to happen, how it is designed. What subtleties do we have there, and we will introduce some terms to like talk about the merge, to reason about them. So I'll try to explain them in a very easy to understand form. Then we will check what will Ethereum look after upgrading to the proof of stake, which is very interesting. And then the when merge question, which is like probably the most important one currently, and the question that is most popular currently. And then we have a Q&A session, and Ben Edgington agreed to like help me with the Q&A, because I have mentioned that like I'm not handling all the things that are around the merge currently. But in this talk, I will try to highlight all the key things that you want to know about it, that you want to pay attention to. Okay, so I'm turning my head to the slide deck, and we are gonna get started. So yeah, merge mechanics. So how the merge is gonna happen, and how this transition process is designed. So this is like why to pay attention to this. This is not a regular. This is a regular upgrade on the mainnet. We used to have these hard forks. They are utilizing the block height mechanics. So at a certain block height, the upgrade is happening. The merge is different in that regard, and yeah, we will learn why and how it's different. But first of all, before like dive deeper into the exact merge transition process, I'd like to just show what the Ethereum is today. So Ethereum today is consists of basically two chains, two networks that are kind of separate to each other, that run in parallel, but they are anyway, they are linked to each other. So first of all, we have Ethereum MainNet that is secured by proof of work. And inside of Ethereum MainNet, we have this execution layer, which is like responsible for executing transactions in a block, verifying that state root of the PoS block of the execution is correct, and so forth. And we have like a tiny layer of proof of work, which is the proof of work seal, and it piggybacks on this execution layer block. And it's like, I would say that it's very tiny in terms of like programming this consensus mechanism and verifying it. And it's been set in stone like since the Ethereum get launched, and never evolved and never changed. So the core thing that we have in Ethereum mainnet today is this execution layer is highly sophisticated with all this like transaction networking and other stuff, JSON RPC and all invariants and so forth. On the other hand, we have the beacon chain, the chain that has been launched 1.5 years ago, which is the new proof of stake consensus chain. So just one of the takeaways here is that we have a chain and a network and a family of clients for the new proof of stake consensus. So we can deduce from this that this consensus is highly sophisticated. And what's nice about it, it's gonna evolve and we will upgrade this consensus layer in the future. So this is how it differs a lot from the proof of work. We have this consensus running on its own, and it basically, this chain comes to consensus and comes to consensus on itself and securing itself, like with no real payload at the moment. And the merge basically is bringing these chains together, these two chains together, but it's not like just because of bringing these two chains together. It's because it's basically a hot swapping of the consensus layer that we have on Ethereum mainnet by the novel proof of stake consensus layer, by the novel proof of stake consensus mechanism. So that's what the merge is. So it's hot swap and by the hot swapping, we mean that average user that will just upgrade their nodes, average user that just upgrade its node will not like see any, definitely it will run a beacon chain client and execution layer client, but we will talk about it in the next slides. But from the user perspective, the chain will be progressing, and the transition will start. The chain will be progressing, and it will be progressing after transition is finished. So nothing should prevent the chain from like being accessible, being available, and serving the user needs. This I've been talking about like execution layer and a consensus layer. These are two new terms that you should pay attention to because they are important to reason about the merge. So we are hot swapping consensus layer of our Ethereum mainnet. That's the merge in a few words. A bit of advertisement. I'm using this like nice diagrams. This is basically an NFT by Danny Ryan. So they are on sale, and all the funds that are from this sale will be directed to researchers and developers who work on the merge. So if you have spare ETH and you want to support the merge, this is probably one of the ways that you can take. Okay, so that's the Ethereum today. The next step is the merge, the actual mechanics of where the proof of stake takes over. So the merge basically, if we zoom in, so this is actually the diagram that represents the merge process. The process is dynamic, of course, but yeah, this diagram is like a kind of static. So let's try to make it like dynamic. So what happens? The beacon chain, yeah, I have been mentioning that the beacon chain has like a slight connection to Ethereum mainnet today. This is because of ETH1 data pool. It always monitors Ethereum mainnet chain to induce new deposits and induce new validators, to process deposits and induce new validators. So it's like already have a kind of already have this connection to Ethereum mainnet. So what happens at the merge and slightly prior to the merge? Slightly prior to the merge, there will be a client software upgrade, and users will upgrade their nodes, and there will be new merge compliant consensus layer clients and the merge compliant execution layer clients, and the consensus layer clients will monitor Ethereum mainnet for terminal proof of work block conditions. So for looking for terminal proof of work block, a bit deeper on the terminal proof of work block. What is this? The merge is basically at its core is a process of taking proof of stake fork choice rule and block proposal mechanism over the proof of work one. So basically we have the proof of work fork choice rule, which is basically the chain that has the most work put into it wins, and this work is represented by the total difficulty, and we want the chain that produced a certain amount of work with a certain amount of work behind it to be our canonical chain, and we want this canonical chain to be forked off and move to the proof of stake chain. So this is why the terminal total difficulty parameter is picked for the merge transition, because we need the canonical chain, and canonical chain is defined by the total difficulty parameter in the proof of work network. So the consensus layer node will monitor Ethereum mainnet to waiting for this terminal block to appear. And once it's appeared, the first proposer here, the proposer of, we call it a transition block. The first proof of stake block is called a transition block. The proposer of transition block will just produce the execution payload, which is the stripped of execution block. It has transactions and all other stuff that is related to the execution block and execution layer, and it will just produce it on top of the terminal proof of work block. And the network will accept this only if this is really this terminal total difficulty condition met, and if this block is valid, and if this block is available, and so forth. If not, if anything of these conditions not met, then the next proposer will pick another terminal proof of work block and will move onwards with it. See something in the chat. Okay. So yeah. And what's important also here from this diagram, we can see that the execution layer chain remains, so it's not removed. And this is important because we have this history invariance, so that blocks of the execution layer chain should be stored in the networks. Users do use them. There are receipts and other stuff and other information. So the merge does not remove this at all, and this helps to have less impact on the JSON RPC, on the user API interface that we have today as it's possible. So that's important. And this like kind of beacon chain blocks has a one-on-one mapping on the execution blocks. It's like almost always one-on-one. Yeah, that's important for understanding the merge process. So what changes it makes to the network. Okay, yeah, on the transition security side, there is like some safe nets that we have designed for a different situation. I will like not stop I will stop on two, like probably most important ones here. So obviously miners will not have enough incentive to probably they will not have enough incentive to stay until the point of merge, and they will just start to sell their hardware or whatever, and then we will have to accelerate the merge somehow because we will set the certain amount of total difficulty, and this may delay the merge, like say by 2 weeks if the hash rate drops significantly. We don't want this, and this is why we have the mechanism to reset the term TTD. And we also tested it on the test net, so it works perfect. So we just reset with the TTD that is closer to the planned time of the merge. Another one is we may, in the very extreme scenario, we may pick the exact terminal, the exact proof work block, make a terminal and fork on top of this block. All these safe nets, safeguards made to to cope with this kind of situations. And I would like to emphasize that any attack or any extreme kind of scenarios, if it will appear near the merge, it will not push back the merge, it will not stop it, it will just accelerate it. So that's the goal. Yeah, that's about it. But I personally don't think that something bad will happen, because miners are incentivized to stay up to the end and to get some, and still keep and getting block rewards until the end. Okay, the clients, about the clients. So I've been mentioning that the users will have to run two clients. One of them is the bigger node clients that we have today, another is the execution client that we also have today. And it's not only about clients, like this separation of concerns. It's not only about clients, it's also about not only about code bases, but it's about knowledge bases and implementers team behind each client of each family that we have here. We don't want consensus layer client teams to understand how all the subtleties of execution layer, because it's like highly sophisticated. There is a lot of optimization opportunities that execution layer client teams know well, and vice versa. So what we do is basically providing the interface to have this communication channel between the clients. The interface is called Engine API, is exposed by the execution layer clients to be guided by the consensus layer clients, like in the new proof of stake Ethereum network. So basically, consensus layer client will know the answer to the main question, what the current head is, which block is finalized. The finality is something new to the proof of stake with respect to the fork. We don't have a finality in the proof of work. And yeah, that's for the sake of simplicity, we have this engine API, which basically 3 methods at the core. And these 3 methods implemented should be like kind of set in stone. They will evolve, the data structures will be changed in subgrades, but the semantics should not be changed like significantly. And this will allow two like worlds to live together, to talk to each other, but still have this nice separation of concerns. And the consensus layer and the execution layer may evolve, like independently, probably, yeah, definitely there will be some dependencies, but in general, yeah, we could envision that how it may work out. Well, so that's about clients. So, and users will, we can envision that there is a Web3 library that use not only JSON RPC that it is today, that remains unchanged, so we can use it, but also has access to beacon APIs that we have exposed by consensus layer clients. So, and user have access in the Web3 libraries to both of sides of this stack. Running a node, what will running a node mean? What requirements will it will it have post-merge? And yeah, people like asking a lot, and this is a fair question, like what hardware requirements, how hardware requirements will increase to run a node post-merge? And I should say that for user perspective, it's like not that much of increase in the hardware requirements. What we have here is like the beacon chain database that is relatively tiny. I'm taking this from like house database profile. So it's like a few gigabytes per year. Comparing to the execution layer to what we have on the execution layer currently, it's like a tiny like bit of information, that's a tiny bit of disk storage. Also, there are some ways to improve on the network bandwidths, like disable attestations, for example, which are not that important for users, but yeah, it's important for validators. So there is a room for improvement on that side. And yeah, we will have block gossip on the beacon node, but the block gossip will be moved from the execution layer to the beacon chain layer to the consensus layer. So I don't think it will be some kind of significant increase in the bandwidth as well. But on the validator side, yes, the validators will have to run the local execution layer client post-merge and slightly pre-merge. And this is because that they will have to pay, but there are some things that will ease the pain of running this local execution layer client. And I would like to say that there is a discussion around introducing proof of execution, which is the mechanism to punish lazy validators who are testing to a block without executing the payload and verifying that the payload is valid. So it's important for validators to run this local EL, and I encourage people, users and validators to start who are interested. Yeah, of course, validators are interested, and I encourage them to start experimenting if you have not yet already in this kind of phase, to start experimenting with running this new client stack on the testnets. Participate in shadow forks. Yeah, about testing how you can participate, how you can make a contribution there. It is a bit. I'll talk about it later. So that's on the client side. Yeah, and also one thing that is important, like if you're picking up, if you're choosing a client, the client diversity is like one of the very important criteria that you want to take into account when picking up a client. Recently, we have improved on the consensus layer side of the consensus layer side diversity, but if you take a look at the execution clients, we are pretty far from ideal situation. So ideally, we have every client less than 1/3 of the total distribution of the clients. But what we have now on the execution layer side is like a very dangerous situation. Like the gap is like the majority, and that's the problem. I would like. I'm looking at how different client teams are working on the engineering and testing efforts, and I should say that all these clients worth checking, worth consideration on running on the usage post-merge. So don't be lazy. Do not like just fall back to a default option and pick up a geth because it just works. All these clients, like except of Open Ethereum, probably it will support merge in the future. But never mind Bazu, Aragon, they also very high qualified, clients of high quality. So check them out. That's like, by running a minority client, you are contributing to the network security. This is important. And yeah, there is like the initiative by Peter from the Geth team, the minority client. It's a client multiplexer proxy that is the tool that is able to talk to different execution layer client, make some decision-making process on what it received from different clients and communicate this back to CCL layer client. So if you're a developer and interested in contributing somehow into the merge and into the client diversity and the network security, this is the project that you may contribute to. So check this out. Yeah, it's a bit unattended, yeah, of course, because Peter is pretty busy. Yeah, so let's take a little break and any questions so far?
So I put one in, but it seems based on that beacon API any execution layer engine should talk with any beacon layer client. Is that true, or has that been tested?
You mean the communication between these two, the engine API?
Yeah, well, is there, say, up and running on the test nets, pretty much every combination of possible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's currently like running on the Kiln testnet. We have like the most recent version of the persistent testnet, which is called Kiln. There are multiple client combinations here, so you can imagine that we have like all possible. So we have like 5 clients here, we have like 4 clients here, so there are 20 client combinations that run on Kiln, and on every mainnet shadow fork and early shadow fork as well. So we will talk about shadow forks data, but yes, they are all tested and they are all being tested.
Just to further that question, do you expect there to, like in the future, there to be close coupling between the consensus and execution clients, say with like Teku and Besu?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's better to probably defer to Teku and Besu teams. But what I can say, I didn't mention it here, but there is also a very good support of a light client in the proof of stake. So you can imagine that there is the execution layer client, and with like this tiny light client sync on top of it to guide this like execution layer clients through what the canonical chain is. So that's kind of set up as possible. Also, why not like a single piece of software that is newly developed may embed both layers, may have both layers under the hood, but I'm not sure about like Teku and Besu are completely integrated. I see like a lot of nice opportunities of having them separately, of keeping them separately. So that's, I've been mentioning that kind of independency in developing the stuff. And yeah. Ben, do you want to like make any comments on that?
I think you summarized it well, Mikhail. I mean, we're talking about, we're in discussion, Besu and Teku teams, about whether it makes sense to have a sort of unified client, but we haven't got any further than discussing it at this stage. Focus is on just getting the merge done at the moment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because the merge is very complicated, and doing something on top of the merge and delivering this at the point of merge at the same time is like, sounds a bit crazy to me. Okay, so let's move on to the proof of stake Ethereum. Are people ready? Okay, I guess yes. Okay, so what happens post-merge, like right after the merge? There are several things. First one is like, we're turning off proof of work. Like we're not turning off proof of work, but the proof of work is not anymore needed to secure the network. So the network will not, the security of the network will not depend on the enormous energy consumption, right? So yeah, there is a chart here. There is like also, yeah, with the related blog post, and there is an analysis of the University College of London. There is a paper, you can read about it, and like the estimated reduction in energy consumption is like about 99.95%. So that's it. That's like huge reduction in it. And this is not something trendy. Like people may think that it's like all this like, I don't know, I don't know, like all this like reduction in energy consumption is a kind of trend now or whatever, it's a hype or not. But what I have found, like reading the Ethereum blog post, it's been like, the date is like 7 years ago, right? So it's the Ethereum launch process. And here what we can read, so the proof of work implies the inefficient conversion of electricity into heat and other positive stuff. And we need an algorithm to fix the infamous proof of stake. So it's been announced like even before the Ethereum mainnet has launched. So that was one of the goals to bring the proof of stake, to upgrade Ethereum to proof of stake further. Like it took like much more time, I think, that it was expected. But anyway, so yeah, we're kind of saving the planet, like contributing to saving the planet by upgrading to proof of stake. Next thing is related to block rewards and this famous meme by Justin Drake about ultrasound money. What does it mean? It means that now in the proof of work, we have this block reward. So we pay 2 ETH to a miner who sealed the block. We also pay to miners who had no chain, who produced uncles, the blocks that are not included in the canonical chain. So they are all rewarded. And if you can see that, like the Ethereum daily block reward, it's like about 15,000 ETH. So we're completely getting rid of it at the point of merge. So no block rewards in that sense anymore. There is a tiny proposer reward. It's very tiny to what we have in the proof of work. We have this proposer reward in the proof of stake. Yeah, and it does not affect the transaction priority fees. I'll say about it on the next slide. And yeah, therefore we have this ultrasound money stuff. It means that the EIP 1559 burn-in rate will highly likely outreach the issuance rate of proof of stake, basically giving us a deflationary ETH. Some economists might say that deflation is bad, but I don't think it's our case. So it's like nice property that we have. We don't have to pay a lot of money for securing the network, and we don't have to, have this like high inflation for this purpose. Priority fees remain the same. So it's like the transaction fee that miners currently get from users, and they remain. They will go to a block proposer or a block builder. We will talk about MEV, it's MEV related stuff later. So priority fees go to what is called the beneficiary address, or what we call fee recipient address in the proof of stake paradigm. And yeah, MEV is also going to be shared with validators. So validators should expect some more income post-merge, which is great, and which like one of the things that ease the pain of running your local EL client. Yeah, about block confirmations. I think this is one of the paradigm shifts in the UX that users will have to accept. So what it is about? In the proof of work, we used to have this K block confirmation rule. It's basically you're depositing some ETH or some other value to a service. The service sees the transaction, but your deposit becomes complete once this transaction is included in a block that is like, say, 16, 10, 12, 32 blocks behind the head. So there is a certain amount of work on top of your transaction made by miners to make this transaction very unlikely to get reward. And this paradigm shift is induced by the shift of the security mechanism of the chain. The proof of stake works differently. It works in a different way. It secures the network in a different way. It secures the transactions in a different way. Hence, there is no K block confirmation rule in the proof of stake. It's like impossible. And instead of this, we have these 2 new block tags. One is finalized, another one is safe. And this is what you will have. You will have this is like an example of how you can query the finalized block from the Ethereum console, from the get console. And what you will have is like basically ETH get block by number. It has these block tag parameters. You will have like get block by number, like specifying finalized, and will return the most recent finalized block to a user. The same is for safe. So yeah, a bit deeper on these flavors of blocks. Finalized is crypto-economically finalized block. It's to have it reworked and parties that is willing to make it reworked and will have to burn a lot of value. So it's like 1/3 of total stake is going to be slashed in attempting to rework the finalized block. But the finalized block is like 64 blocks behind the head in the best case scenario. It could be worse. Yeah, it's kind of like pretty far from the head of the chain. Can we improve on that? Yes, we can. We have this notion of safe block, which under honest majority and honest majority and good network condition assumptions can give us like this, can give us the assurance that this block is very unlikely to get reworked. Right after the merge, the safe block will be set to justified block, which is like the block that has been attested by 2/3 of all validators in the system, which this is pretty safe block. It's like 32 blocks behind the head usually. This safe algorithm will improve, and ideally eventually we are about to reach the point where the safe block is like only one block behind the head. So it's the UX of a safe block will be pretty much, will be pretty good. And about latest is what you don't want to, is what is unsafe to use, and you might not want to use. And if you're using it, you should be using it with care and with understanding how the consensus works. And like using latest in the proof of stake is kind of have the same security level as using the most recent proof of work block. Like the head of the chain, basically, it's very likely to get reworked. So you don't want to use it. The latest block may be the block that has been just proposed, and nobody has attested to it yet. So it's like, proposer proposed a block and the network didn't like accept it. You definitely don't want to use it, like probably for collecting some big data or whatever reason, but not for confirming transactions. Yeah. So there is the finalized, there is safe. This is the replacement of K-block information rule. So yeah, what comes and also comes with the merge is the RANDAO. The RANDAO is the randomness oracle that the beacon chain maintains and uses for its own. So the RANDAO will be exposed at the same opcode as we have for difficulty today. And there are subtleties of using the RANDAO. If you want to get deeper into this, if you want to use RANDAO in your application, please go to EAP 4399, read the security consideration section. It has some explanation on what can go wrong. Worth mentioning here that block hash becomes a source of completely insecure randomness post-merge because the proof of work seal is removed from block. So block hash becomes malleable, and RANDAO is a good replacement. Like it gives more or less the same properties, not definitely not worse, probably better. So it depends on the design of your application. So also if your dApp needs to understand whether it is being called inside of the proof of stake block, like whether the merge has already happened, you may use these pre-RANDAO or difficulty of code to get the knowledge of whether it's in the proof of stake or yet in the proof of work. So there is like an explanation on how to do this in the same EIP that I have mentioned. Okay, stable block times. Take a look on the left side. So we have this is the distribution of block intervals from the Ethereum mainnet. It's totally crazy. It's like crazy in terms of like prediction. So it's hard to predict where hard fork is happening because of this, because we have this proof of work stochastic process that has fluctuations. So we see this on the mainnet today. And on the other side, in the proof of stake, we have a stable block time interval. So every 12 seconds interval, the block should be expected to be proposed. Sometimes it's very rare event, like about 1% of all blocks. For all slots, the block is not proposed or isn't delivered or found or whatever. And we see this like empty slot. So it's very rare. And what we have in terms of like average block time. So we have a slightly more than 13 seconds currently on the mainnet. And considering these empty slots, we will have slightly more than 12 seconds in the proof of stake. And yeah, there is a like 1 second reduction in the block time, increasing the supply that the chain is providing per unit of time. Yeah, so that's on the block time. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's on the block time. So a bit about Finality. So what I would like to emphasize here. So the Finality has this cryptoeconomics Finality has real practical meaning to users. Yeah. So just imagine the case where there is a block that is finalized. An adversary wants to finalize the conflicting block. So in order to do this, first of all, adversary will have to like own 2/3 of total stake, or induce like or separate or have 1/3 of a stake and separate the network into two partitions, which is pretty hard to do, I guess. So this is probably the easiest way, like to get 2/3 of a total stake and finalize the conflicting checkpoint. By finalizing the conflicting block, adversary may employ a double span attack. So, and to reason about this, it's easy to reason about this in the proof of stake because we know the numbers. We have these clear boundaries with respect to what we have in the proof of work. We don't know how much hardware is on the market and how easy it is to to rent this hardware and so forth. So yeah, a clear example here. So suppose there is a block with transactions. It's been finalized, and what we are saying that is that this block is secured by 1/3 of the total stake at ETH. Today, it's like there is total stake at ETH is at 12 million. And it means that if the merge happens, like when the merge happens, the finalized block transactions will be secured by 4 million ETH. This is just $8 billion to date. So it's like kind of enormous amount of money. And just imagine that adversary will have to have a payout, like a great a payout out of this double span attack or whatever other attack it may employ greater than this number. So it's like it's totally crazy number, and I don't know what the incentives of the adversary could be to employ this kind of attack. And yes, if adversary attempts to do this, it will be slashed. The slashing, the attestation slashing messages will be placed on this honest chain, and it will be slashed. Its validator will be like blocked, and they will be prevented from attesting to the chain. Up to half of a balance of each validator will just, burned. Also, we can do some other not that fancy mathematics with these boundaries, like assuming that all this ETH is owned by honest nodes currently. The adversary to employ this kind of attack to try to attempt to finalize like conflicted checkpoint will have to obtain 24 million ETH. So yeah, which is even more crazy. Like yeah, that's the practical usage of this finality, of this cryptoeconomic finality. So, yeah, and every attack is attributable. Like every slashable offense is attributable. We know which validator did something bad and just slash it. If you want to, yes, here I will not go deep into the incentives layer of the new proof of stake. It's like pretty complicated, but if you want a very good explanation of this, here is the Upgrading Ethereum book by Ben Edgington. And this incentives layer section is very well shaped and very well served, and the information is very well surfaced to the user. So go there. These are excerpts from this book. There are rewards and penalties. There are slashings. There is inactivity leak, and yeah, all this is incentives layer. I might have missed something because Ben spent a lot of time on gathering this information from PR discussions, from annotated specs, from the security consideration document, design rational document of Serenity and so forth. So yeah, if you're interested in the proof of stake consensus, you better go and read this resource. It's very nice. Okay, yeah, MEV. MEV, I've been saying that MEV post-merge is going to be very important because yeah, there is the research by Flashbot. They claim that annual APR, APR basically, will be increased by 5% of a validator if they will get access to MEV. And democratizing MEV in a network with thousands or even hundreds of thousands proposers, block proposers, is quite challenging. It's much more complicated than we have this in current proof of work network. Because there are a few miners and searchers who search for MEV opportunities, and rewarded miners for including these opportunities into block. They can reach them out easily, which is not going to be the case in the proof of stake. And we have this Meth Boost design, which enables proposer to access the basically execution payload market. And one shift here from the proof of work paradigm is that instead of proposing bundles, which is a few transactions that included on top of a block, we will have whole blocks, whole payloads proposed by builders for inclusion, and proposer will pick the most appealing one, which gives the bigger payout to it, and include it into a block. And yeah, there is we may treat this scheme as a out of protocol proposer builder separation with trust assumptions between relay and proposers, between relay and builders, and other things and other assumptions here, and considerations and concerns. People are working on this heavily currently. So if you're a validator, you definitely want to take a look at this one, and you definitely want to make usage of MEV post-merge. And I would say that Meth Boost is the only solution to that is being developed to get an access to this. Yeah, I see some questions in the chat. I guess I can just finish and we stop questions here. Transactions fees are not expected to be impacted that much by the merge. Merge is not about gas prices. The merge is there could be a slight impact. I've been mentioning there will be stable block times, which should make the EIP 1559 logic to work more smoother. And there is decrease in the average block time by 1 second, which will increase the supply per unit of time. But it probably slightly affect the gas prices, but I would not expect that it will be affected that much. So transaction fees are not going to be improved by the merge. Okay, so withdrawals that are coming in the next fork after the merge. There is a very clear and I'd say simple and practical scheme, practical design solution for withdrawal that we have currently. You may read about it in the specs. So the proof of execution that I have been mentioning is going to be introduced sometime in the future. So this is basically the every validator who executes a block and attests to a block will have to store the execution trace, and will And it will be possible to challenge Validator if we see that if attested to an invalid block, and if it loses challenge, then or like challenge Validator on whatever other conditions, and if it loses challenge, it will be slashed. So it will be a punishment mechanism for lazy validators. And I forgot to mention, like here on the finality side, we do not slash for invalid blocks, but for proposing an invalid block, and we don't slash for attesting to an invalid block yet. So what proposer can be slashed in only one case, if it proposes two blocks in the same slot, two different blocks in the same slot. Okay. Yeah, sharding. When sharding, it's hard to say, but the proof of stake, the upgrade to proof of stake opens up a broad way to sharding and the scalability solution, because it's in the proof of stake, the scalability solution are designed much easier than it would be in the proof of work. And this is the way how merge in the long term is going to like affect transaction fees, probably because once we have rollups, we're expecting drop in the transaction fees, right? And like the merge kind of like, just opens and opens the way to this design, to the scalability design. So this is how one of the, this is the upgrades of consensus layer that should be expected post-merge, and also proposer builder separation and other stuff. This is why I have been mentioning that our new proof of stake consensus mechanism is going to be constantly evolving, comparing to not evolving at all proof of work. Okay, so okay, yeah, let me try to, I'll go into the chat. Are there any built-in mechanisms to counter validator centralization? I would say there are no built-in mechanism, but to counter means that just to observe if there is a centralization vector. Am I getting this right?
I assume the question is about, is there anything in protocol which prevents or strongly discourages centralization of validators? And the strict answer is no, nothing direct, right? Because it's very hard, it's very easy to fake decentralization, very, very hard to detect in protocol. So the kind of strict answer is there's nothing direct that can be done. There are indirect mechanisms, like we have correlated penalties, so that if a large number of validators go down at the same time, then the penalties are greater than if a small number go down. So if you are hosting a large number of validators on a single infrastructure, and they're all the same type of validator, so they're all, say, Prism or whatever the majority is, and they go down, your risk is greater than if you had diversified your infrastructure. This is kind of subtle, and not everybody really understands or prices risk very well, and there are all sorts of trade-offs. So but I think people are starting to get the message. We've seen that in the change from Prism. Used to have 70% of validators used to run on Prism, which is a very dangerous situation, because if there were a problem, it would become a serious issue for the beacon chain. Now we see that it's less than half on Prism, and it's much more diversified across clients. That change has happened in the last 3 to 4 months as people have started to understand the risks of centralizing on one particular validator client, and other kinds of centralization have the same incentives to avoid. But nothing direct is the basic answer to the question.
Yeah, and this is why client diversity means more in the proof of stake to comparing to what in the proof of work, what just Ben mentioned, right, Ben? What do you think about it?
Yeah, the failure mechanisms in proof of stake can be very severe. So if a super majority client with over 2/3 of the validator set had a bug, that would get finalized immediately, and that would then become the canonical chain, the one with the bug, and there's nothing we can do to fix that without slashing very large numbers of validators. So yeah, that's a really serious issue. So having a much more even distribution of client software is much more resilient, and the failure modes are less severe.
Yeah, run the minority client. That's the general advice. Do not be lazy, really. It's important for network security. Why not slash a proposer for an invalid block? That's basically a good question, but it's not. We slash only for the event that tries to like breach the security, like the security of the network, which is like this finality mechanism. And yeah, we are not slashing for invalid block because like it's it does not affect the security of the network at all. It's like the network is designed to deal with invalid blocks. It will just be reworked by a regular mechanism. Also, like, yeah, if we slash for it, like there will be probably pretty severe, like somebody, like I would say, like
yeah,
some execution layer client.
Mikhail, isn't it, say, the difference between someone acting maliciously, whereas the other one proposing an invalid block could be a software bug? So, you know, should you lose all of your money due to, say, a bug or something just gone wrong, whereas the other one, you've actively tried to attack the network. So we want to sort of punish you for attacking the network. Is that the difference, maybe?
Yeah, that's the difference. And as I've said, it just should be like a single invalid block that is purposely produced is going to be reworked out easily. And we have a different situation when we have like mass failure that we have been that Ben has just described how it can happen and what can it lead to. So like slashing for a single invalid block doesn't make much sense from the security standpoint.
Yeah. There's also a question about block nonce here somewhere. Yeah, what happens to block nonce? So the Ethereum one block nonce.
Yeah. Block nonce will be just set to zero, all zeros. So we are retaining the block structure to avoid a lot of changes, like in different parts, like JSON RPC and other parts as well. Yeah, it will be, if we change the block structure, it will be hard to manage the one part of the chain with like one structure and another one with another structure. In the proof of work, in the proof of stake, we have much more upgradable block structures and the way we use them. And yeah, it's just set to all zeros. The same as with difficulty. Difficulty is set to 0. It's deprecated.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So Kate Johnson's got, will there be a Solidity upgrade accompanying the merge?
I think that Solidity upgrades are happening on a pretty frequent basis. And yes, I think they will take this into account. Like basically what should be upgraded in Solidity, I don't know, like all the subtleties of this kind of renaming one opcode to like renaming the opcode, but the difficulty opcode should be renamed to the pre-brand DAO to reflect what we have post-merge, and this is like the only update that I can imagine that Solidity should make. Probably there are some others. I would expect, yes, they will upgrade to like slightly before or slightly after the merge. So yeah, but I'm not following like closely the Solidity release pipeline. So can't probably answer more strict.
Yeah, okay. And I think with that, you've answered all the questions in chat. So please tell us when the merge is going to happen. Are we there yet?
So yes, we are almost there. And I'll try to be brief. So from the specification standpoint, from the design standpoint, we are pretty happy with what we have currently. So we may consider spec as finalized. So what's left is testing and a portion of engineering and testing. We are in progress of testing. So thanks Marius from the Geth team who run this campaign, which is called Test and the Merge. So how to participate? Yes, you should join ETH R&D Discord. There is a testing channel and the merge group of channels where all the recent updates about testing is posted. Mainnet and Girly Shadow forks are there. You may ask questions there and post some results of your testing, why your node is not working, and you will get response from client developers. We have Kiln, a persistent testnet that you might want to try deploying your dApp, run a node, and other stuff. Send transactions on it. Also participate in mainnet and Girly Shadow fork. So if you want to learn how it will be to run a node on the mainnet, you may participate in the mainnet shadow forks. And with this DevOps magic that's set up by Paritosh from Ethereum Foundation, we can literally launch these mainnet shadow forks like every week. So they are running on every week basis. So what happens basically, the beacon chain starts slightly in advance. We pick the TTD from the real mainnet block that we anticipate will hit soon. Then users set up their node and pulls the releases for this shadow forks. And then the transition process happens, and basically the shadow fork, we call it shadow fork, the fork of the mainnet chain starts to be driven by the beacon chain that has been recently launched, and the transactions from the mainnet mempool are included into this shadow fork chain. So it does not affect almost anything on the mainnet network, but it's very good opportunity to test clients and see how it will look like and see the hardware requirements that we will have post-merge. So that's great. Yeah, on the decision-making process of when merge, we have difficulty bomb that will start impact the network I would say tangible impact will happen like in June. It started happening from July and August, where we'll have probably 20 seconds block. We want definitely to deliver the merge before the bomb starts impacting the network in a more significant way. But this is the happy case scenario. So if we are happy with forking Ropsten and forking other networks, the information is here. You may read this. The Ropsten total difficulty has been picked up. We are forking Ropsten in early June. The beacon chain will run slightly in advance. Will be launched slightly in advance. The Ropsten is going to be deprecated after we do an upgrade on Ropsten sometime after. So if Ropsten went well, and if Ropsten goes well, and we are happy with the testing front, with the progress on testing front, and no critical problem occurs, then we should expect Sepolia and Girly forked in early June, early July, and then merge is expected in July, August. There is also the plan B, so we will, if something goes wrong, we can still push back the difficulty bump and deliver the merge later. We are not going to push it back the pushback will probably be for 3 months, not more. Also, you may read the recent What's New in It 2, the publication on the May 6th, and Ben goes deeper into all this details of these two scenarios. That's all from my end. So, any questions? I don't think we have a lot of time, right, Peter?
No, not so much. I mean, I think time is getting on, and I don't think we've had too many questions except about recordings and links. And so there's the Ethereum Engineering Group Meetup YouTube channel. I'll post the video, and in the description of the video, there'll be a link to the slides, and that'll go up tomorrow morning. and you'll be able to get all the links out of the slides. But I don't think we've got any bonus questions. So, but just in case, are there any questions? I think we're all good. So, which is good. So thank you for an absolutely awesome and comprehensive talk. And thank you for being there, Ben, for answering some of the, I don't know, extra questions. So that's all good. So for both of you, very, very much appreciated. I'm sure, or I know I've learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else has too. So thank you. Yeah, and claps to you and all that sort of thing. On the next slide, after this one, there's the forthcoming talks. And so in 2 weeks' time, we've got the talk by some colleagues and I about creating applications using the cross-chain protocol stack. So essentially creating cross-chain applications. 2 more weeks, we've got some people, or Adrian, in fact, and maybe it's Adrian and Paul, and they're going to talk about a protocol that's in the Beacon chain called Checkpoint Sync. And they're going to talk about how that works. And yeah, so that'll give you some detailed information about how the syncing actually works. Then in late June, we're going to have a winter break. So go off, have a holiday, go skiing, go fly to the Northern Hemisphere, have a bit of sun. Yeah. Anyway, and then we're coming back on July 13 to talk MEV in ETH2 and drill into that stuff that Mikhail was talking about. So Vanessa Bridge is someone from Consensus Software R&D who's done some research into MEV in ETH2, and she's going to deliver her findings or where she's up to in her thoughts on all of that. So, and then I still do have to reach out to the people in diligence to do a talk on Solidity security, and the Truffle people and I are negotiating a time to talk about everything about Truffle, how it works, sidechains, roll-ups, and debugging, and how allow you to really fully understand where Truffle's up to today. So with that, so thank you again, Mikhail. Thank you again, Ben. So awesome talk, absolutely fabulous. Looking forward to the merge, looking forward to proof of stake. So yeah, I don't know, Ben, Mikhail, are you both looking forward to proof of stake?
It can't come soon enough. Been waiting like 6 years for this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to like having this delivered. Yeah, pretty much excited about it. Yeah, join this in the merge efforts for those who are really interested in this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great morning, day, or night. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks again for having me here. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.